The year is 1946. The Second World War has just ended. The victors are celebrating, but nobody's celebrating more than the Americans. To them, it's the best of times. They're standing at the cusp of a new era, an era in which America will use its military might to push its agenda across the world. And guess what? They have the perfect test subjects. These are the people of the Marshall Islands. They've heard of the Americans, and frankly, they don't know any better. So when the Americans ask them to leave their home so that they can conduct some tests, they agree. For the next 12 years, these islands become a testing ground. The Americans detonate 67 nuclear bombs here. Some of them are 3 times more powerful than the bomb that fell on Hiroshima. All of this is justified in the name of progress. This is what the Americans tell the islanders. They call it the greater good. And for the longest time, the islanders believed them. The story of the Marshall Islands is a sad tale of misplaced trust. It's the story of an entire community decimated by radiation, an entire culture put on the slow poison drip by nuclear blasts. But how did it happen? We'll get to that. But save this date, 1954. This is the year of the biggest nuclear blast till date. America calls it Castle Bravo. The blast is so big, so powerful that it affects areas far away from the Marshall Islands. Radioactive elements start drifting across the Pacific Ocean. They fall on the nearby islands like snow. The islanders think it's a miracle. They gather the ash. They make ornaments out of it. Some of them even sprinkle it on their food. They're not aware that they're consuming poison. Over the next few years, weird things begin to happen. People, especially children, begin suffering from skin burns. Mysterious illnesses begin to surface. Cancers grow. Birth defects become common. Radiation has entered the body of the Marshallese people. It's in their bones. It's in their blood. It will be passed on to their children and grandchildren. Slowly, the Marshall Islands turns into a graveyard. Those who survive suffer lifelong health conditions. Some of them will die within days or weeks of giving birth. Others will watch their children suffer and waste away. For the islanders, it's a nightmare, something they never asked for. Where do they go for help? Who do they hold responsible? The United States? Well, that's a complicated question. For decades, America refuses to accept responsibility. It says the tests were safe, that the Marshall Islands were never in danger. But finally, in 1978, it buckles under international pressure. It admits that some people suffered because of the nuclear tests, and it pays out compensation. A total of $150 million is set aside for the affected people. But is this enough? Not even close. In 1986, the Marshall Islands gets its independence. Both countries sign a deal called the Compact of Free Association. It allows Marshall Islanders to travel freely to the US. In return, the US gets to keep using some of the islands as military bases. The Nuclear Claims Tribunal is set up, and it continues to receive claims till this day. But all of this is not enough for the survivors. They say they were betrayed by their own leaders. They claim the leaders did not consult them before signing the deal. And to be honest, can you blame them? When your home is being bombed, when your lands are becoming radioactive, when death is staring you in the face, you lose track of everything else. All this while, the Marshall Islands is suffering another silent tragedy. The nuclear fallout has rendered most of their land and water unfit for consumption. Traditional farming and fishing is no longer possible. The islanders are forced to depend on outsiders for food. First comes the Americans with their so-called gifts, and slowly those gifts turn into burdens. Canned meat, mostly spam, white rice, sugary drinks, flour, chips, and snacks. Food that is highly processed, full of preservatives and additives. At first, the islanders are grateful, but soon they realize they're losing their culinary identity. Local food is replaced by foreign imports. The Marshall Islands is made up of thousands of small islands. Each island has its own specialties: seafood cooked in coconut milk, fish baked in banana leaves, roasted pork with breadfruit and pandanus, tapioca, lemongrass tea, raw fish salads. All of this is forgotten. Now the staple diet consists of rice, noodles, and wheat products. Processed meats replace local fish and poultry. Do you know what happens next? The Marshallese people begin falling sick again. New diseases emerge. Old ones resurface. Diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, obesity. The Marshall Islands today has the highest diabetes rate in the world. 1 out of every 3 adults is diabetic. How did this happen? Because of complacency, because of easy access to junk food, because the land and water are no longer safe to consume. Since the 1980s, the Marshallese have been eating more calories than they burn. Life expectancy has fallen from 70 to 59 years. Non-communicable diseases are responsible for 80% of all deaths. So you see, the second wound has infected the very core of the Marshallese society. It has seeped into their veins through their food. It's hard to imagine what they must be going through, watching their infants go blind because of diabetes, watching their toddlers develop heart conditions, seeing their kids become obese by the age of 2. One scientist calls this the double whammy. First, the nuclear fallout, then the high-fat diet. Another calls it nutritional transition. Whatever you call it, the impact is devastating. Studies show that the Marshall Islands has the highest cancer rate in the Pacific region, 184 cases per 100,000 people. Thyroid disorders are also common. Genetic damage has occurred. Birth defects continue to occur. The second generation is paying the price for the sins of its parents. This is supposed to be a tale of 2 tragedies, but it's turning into a tale of 3. The third wound is the wound of denial. America may have accepted some of the blame, but it has not done justice to the rehabilitation process. Survivors say they've been fighting for their rights for decades. They've been waiting for justice for 75 years. But how long can they wait? How long can one generation keep waiting for justice? Let me tell you a bit about the Marshallese people. They are known to be one of the friendliest communities in the world. You will always find them smiling, always find them ready to help. But you know what? That smile is fading now. It's being replaced by anger and frustration. Look at the social media pages of the Marshall Islands. Most of them are filled with protests. There are pictures of anti-America rallies, pictures of demonstrations outside the White House, pictures of people holding signs that read, "America broke our bodies." Last year, the US government admitted that the nuclear tests had indeed caused cancer among the Marshall Islanders. But that was little too late. It's little like shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. Today, there are renewed calls for nuclear closure, a movement that demands justice for the Marshallese people, a movement that demands answers, a movement that wants to break the cycle of nuclear secrecy. This is a story that America would rather forget, but it's a story that must be told. It's a story of deceit and denial, of health hazards and heritage loss, of cancers and birth defects, of dependence and despair. It's a story of the dark side of progress. It's a story of how the lust for power can corrupt even the best of intentions. And we end tonight's episode with some questions. Does America owe an apology to the Marshall Islands? Does it owe a better deal? Does it owe better medical facilities, better healthcare for the people? You be the judge. But remember, stories like these help us understand global politics better. Stories of how societies are shaped, of how health and culture are negotiated. They may not have all the answers, but they ask the important questions. Questions that help us shape a better tomorrow. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. See you next time.